You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, Mark the Greasy Meatball Sebastian from OptionPit.com, Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com, and Henry the Flowmaster Schwartz from Cboe. The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It's Thursday. Man, it's been a little while since we've been back together here on a Thursday OB. The holiday gods and travel gods have conspired against us. Did you miss us? Well, we're back. Hope you had a good 4th of July last week. Hope you're having a good trading week this week. If you're just tuning in for the Thursday OB, man, you missed a whole heck of a lot of great stuff this week. Awesome boot camp yesterday, futures rundown, Monday OB, where once again, the uncleist of Mikes and indeed the Rock Lobster go head to head. Who won the Monday battle? Well, I guess you have to tune in to find out. And of course, the latest addition to the network, the European Market Brief, popping off on Tuesday there. A lot of great stuff coming at you. Yet another reason why you should be subscribed to the full network. And of course, if you're one of the pro members, congrats to, I believe it was Eric Nelson, one of our pro members there, who won the Pro Trading Crate for the month of June. If you get in there now, theoptionsinsider.com/pro, you can have your name entered to win the July Pro Trading Crate. Trust me, you want to win one of these at least once during your trading career. They are pretty darn cool, if I do say so myself. Whenever these go out the door, I'm always looking at them like, that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll keep that, but I don't. I let it go out to you folks, listeners. So check it out, theoptionsinsider.com/pro. One of the many benefits of joining the pro crew. And let's see who's joining our crew on the old OB today, shall we? First, let's go out to the hinterlands of Chi-Town, where we are joined once again by the uncleist of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw, who has busily put aside his all-orange trivia pursuit study book just to join us here on the show today. Mr. Uncle Mike, how goes it? How goes your quest to perfect all things orange in 80s Trivial Pursuit, sir?
Hey, I got a one-game winning streak going, so something must be going right.
There you go. Spoiler from the Monday episode of OB if you missed it. Uncle Mike fighting back. Is the Empire striking back? I guess we'll have to find out. The Rock Lobster would say no, but Uncle Mike, he hasn't scored a full point since, I think it was March. So it was a long drought. The orange spell not working out well for Uncle Mike, but maybe he's turning the tide. We shall see. Maybe this summer.
And I'm the Jedi. If anyone's the Empire, it's Andrew. I'm the Jedi, just so you know.
Sir, I guess you're the return of... Are the Jedi returning now? I guess that's the question we have to ask. You got to tune in to the Monday OB to know for sure. And then going out to the hallowed halls of Cboe East. I don't know what his preferred color of Trivial Pursuit would be. I guess we'll find out. He is the Flowmaster himself, Mr. Henry Schwartz from Cboe. Mr. Flowmaster, you played Trivial Pursuit back in the day. What was your go-to color?
There's 80s, right?
What was that?
Do they have 80s as a choice?
Well, no, it was in the 80s when that's the version we're playing. We're playing an actual 80s edition. So you have, your geography, which is blue. You have your arts and leisure, which is pink. You have your sports and leisure, I should say, which is orange. And then you have history, which is yellow, science, green, and then brown, I think, is literature. And maybe I missed one in there, but yeah, there's a variety of categories. Judging by your rapid response, you did not have it.
It's some pretty lowbrow stuff. It's very lowbrow and unsophisticated. That's why the Rock Lobster's doing as well as he is. I'm convinced.
Doesn't like when the questions turn towards Hemingway and of course his nemesis in life, wrist wrestling.
Yeah, I need the color that's like for bad TV.
Oh, well, there you go. I don't know if they have one. I think we probably would have called under the pink category back in the day. Listeners, what was your preferred color? Let us know as we keep on rolling into the trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the trading block.
All right, everybody, welcome to the trading block. And the color everyone's looking for when it comes to the market is green, at least in your P&L. Doesn't have to be up in the market, but as long as it's green in your P&L, listeners. Even though we do have a green day in the market today as well. Didn't quite start out that way. Started out a little bit more leaning red to mixed. It seemed like people were a little bit spooked by what we're hearing, of course, the increasing tit for tat in the trade war yet again. I think Brazil is on the docket now, but wait 5 minutes, could be another country. Either way, that seemed to be spooking some people. Also had some hotter numbers coming out this morning. And so some folks are looking at all that and maybe taking a bit of a pause. We are also hanging out at some lofty levels in the market. So maybe understandable some folks would take some pause this morning, but that pause is now gone. We are up 1/3% in the S&P, hanging out not that far from 6,300. Man, 6,280. Just to think we were below 5,000. Not too long ago, listeners. Wild times out there. The Dow up about 0.6%. NASDAQ kind of flat to unched. The headline, though, listeners. The headline, and you probably saw this if you were looking at markets yesterday, of course. Our old pal VIX Cash getting back to a 15 handle. Haven't seen a 15 handle since pretty much before all this trade war fun really popped off, listeners. Yeah, we got to go back to 15 handle. You really got to go back to February, which is wild. So, yeah, wild times out here, listeners. And we're back there again right now, 1580. Almost 15 3/4, down almost 2.5 points from where we were the last time we gathered here on the show on Monday. So, yeah, down almost 2.5 points just from Monday, which is wild in and of itself. So, wild times out there, listeners. Vol also coming back to earth. Still, I wouldn't say frothy, but respectable out there at a 92 out there. So interesting stuff afoot. A lot to unpack out there in the markets. Let's go out to the hallowed halls of Cboe East because we haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks. First off, Mr. Flowmaster, how was your 4th of July? What is the typical Flowmaster celebration? I see you just exploding a lot of stuff. Is that the case? And then B, what's catching your eye in a green day and indeed week in the market, sir?
Well, I had a great 4th of July. We went to upstate New York and went to a county fair where they had a fireworks show and blooming onions and the country band, and it was the whole experience. But the market is very happy, and I put up a picture on LinkedIn, and I send it over to you, Mark. You can tweet it if you like. That just kind of shows, at least in terms of options pricing and volatility. As you mentioned, it has a 15 handle for the first time in about 6 months, and so I put together some data, just kind of showing where we've been and kind of what the typical range is. And I think most of the people listening to this show, they understand volatility, and some probably really think in vol terms. But we really kind of went from February, things were very, very calm, right? It was such a kind of a bullish outlook on what this administration was going to do for the business environment, blah blah blah, to some true terror in April. And right now the market's up. We're up about 6 or 7% year to date, SPX. You got to remember, in April we were down, I believe, almost 12% on the year. So that's almost a 20% kind of bottom to top move. That really is pretty extreme. And then some of these high flyers, I think I heard Nvidia is up almost 60% from the bottom of that dip just a few months ago. So it really is a different environment. I think a lot of people are, having a little bit of FOMO and chasing it, and we got Bitcoin at all-time highs, and there really is a lot of, I dare say it, a little bit of exuberance out there, just because the market has been very calm and really shrugged off any negative news. Makes me a little nervous, just because I really feel like at this point it's a little bit of complacency.
Would you say that exuberance is, dare I say it, irrational, sir?
You got some very, very high multiples in the equity world. And I had a colleague come in yesterday, a younger, not a kid, but somebody who's just a few years out of school. And he said, why does the market keep going up? And, I struggled. I was like, listen, you know what? The U.S. equity market is where the world continues to put its money. And what else are you going to do with it? But things really can shift. So, considering that optionality is relatively cheap in a historical sense right now, I think that, it's prudent to really look at what you have and consider, if not kind of trimming exposure a little bit, possibly putting on some hedges, maybe in the form of cheap put spreads or something. So, but that said, we've got a handful of stocks at all-time highs, and pretty much the market hanging out very near all-time highs. I don't want to steal any thunder from Mike in case we hit it, but it's a very rosy picture right now. So far it's a good summer. I believe there was even a post from the president about how great the stock market was.
And I know you mentioned it. You put together some interesting visuals that we were looking at here before the show, including, spoiler alert, Henry, if you bought some straddles back in April, you did pretty well. You want to break it down really quick for our listeners, what you were tweeting out, sir?
Sure. So there's such a focus on zero DTE activity, and there's a lot of different ways people trade zero DTEs, but one of them, the simplest, really is the at the money straddle. In the first few minutes of every day. That expires that same day. And so I actually track that using the market data from Cboe and know what the offer price is every morning at 9:35 going back really to 2022. And in general, when markets are quiet, that's about a $20 to a $25, or about a 30 basis points cost. But in April, right, when the wheels were falling off, it was much higher. It was as high as 1.4%. Okay, so meaning like a $75 straddle. But if you owned it every day in April, you had a really good month. And on April 9th, we're up almost $330 on a straddle that cost about $70. So really, really kind of amazing. Since then, though, it really has been a loser. So even though right now, volatility is 16-ish, the straddle costs around $21 in the morning. That's where it's been, at least for most of July. that's been a losing position to own. So I know Russell Rhodes talks about it when you have him on. Just really is the market performing at outperforming the straddle? And the answer is no. And we talk about expensive vol and cheap vol, and I know Mark Sebastian's also mentioned it. In general, you actually do want to buy it when it's really ramped up, and you actually do want to be short it when it's really depressed, which is kind of where we are right now. And that's kind of how this year's playing out, it looks like.
That is a counterintuitive fact that we have pointed out to people in the past. Sometimes when vol is really low, it can hang out there for a while, so it's counterintuitive. You may want to short it. And when vol's ripping your face off, it's counterintuitive, but you may want to buy it because that's when it does tend to outperform. So yeah, there are many counterintuitive lessons in the world of vol. Let's now turn our attention to the hinterlands of Chicago. Mr. Uncle Mike, I have bought you all the time that I possibly can, sir. Is that sufficient for your needs? Can you burst in like Kool-Aid Man with your triumphant call, sir?
Unfortunately, no. We are so close. We are so close to all-time highs. We're, I believe, like 2 points away right now. And But I'm scared to go to a different screen right now to go through the rest of my trading block segment, because I don't want to miss the actual moment we hit the all-time high, because we are less than 2 points away right now. But nonetheless, it is what it is. So S&P at 62.82 right now. 62.84 is the all-time high. And it's always exciting on days like that. We are getting some movement in silver today. We'll be excited about discussing that in TWIFO coming up here in a little over an hour. We're near the 15-year highs, I believe it is, in silver anyway. So that's always exciting when that happens. And then I think just from where it was, we had talked about this on Monday a little bit when the markets were pulling back. We were debating over what it was. But the reality of it is that when markets go up like they do, they're going to have pullbacks from time to time. And we're literally near the all-time highs again. And it's just kind of funny. It seems like we were in this position last two weeks ago on our Thursday show, to where we were almost at the all-time high, and I couldn't say my thing, but who knows? Maybe today I'll get to bust in like Kool-Aid Man. We'll see. But we're seeing that in terms of some things with which I'm watching, some various stocks. Netflix has been on a royal tear lately. It's down about 3% of the day today, but if you look at Netflix and some of the tech names, of course, Nvidia and Palantir, which we talk about, Uber has had a pretty big run lately. A lot of technology names are really pushing this market higher. And I'm kind of in the camp of Henry in that it's not a bad time to buy some protective puts to lock in some gains, based upon the fact that we've had close to a 20% movement over the course of the last few months. And it could hurt theoretically if the markets continue to go higher. But when you have all-time highs, when you have a 20% move in the S&P and the VIX is in the 15s, if you're not already hedged, which in all my cases, I either am or I'm not, but if you're not already hedged and you're thinking about it, it might not be a bad idea to look into doing something along those lines with your stock holdings, if you're not already hedged in certain parts already. So that's what I'm seeing today. And we'll see how the show turns out.
Yeah, you missed your opportunity last week. The fates intervened. You weren't able to say it live on the show. You were able to say it live on Twitter. And we were able to reshare it, Uncle Mike. So it was the next best thing last week. But we couldn't do it live on the show, Kool-Aid Man style. But we'll keep waiting, Uncle Mike. If you need to burst in at any time, you just feel free to take the reins, sir, while I'm breaking down some of the wild action out here in the rest of the options market, while we're all waiting for the Kool-Aid Man to make his appearance. Is it a hot day? Is it a spicy day out there in the markets? I'd say it's lukewarm. Decent. I mean, it's not quiet. It's not boiling either. It's decent. Let's start off in VIX land. VIX 350 right now, this time of year. I'd say that's about what you'd expect, maybe even a little heavy, given the fact that we are heading into the seasonally quiet period. But then again, nothing's really normal about this market. The ADV in the middle of July is 782. That's actually pretty respectable for this time of year. So that sense, we're actually underperforming. Should be putting up a little more, around 400K, close to it. So interesting stuff out there. So VIX, 350 on the tape today. Seems like the big dog out there today. Looks like it's a 25.35 vertical in August. Going up, looks like it's gone up at least 14,000 times already. I think more than that. That was just the first block of it. Yeah, they've done a total, looks like, of around 30,000+ of it today. Looks like they're buying it, listeners, for around 52 cents, buying the 25, selling the 35s. You down for that? You like that? Let's see, maybe I'll have our producers put out a little flash poll on that. See if you're down for a little AUG 25.35 vertical. 52 cents. Not the craziest outlay I've seen, all things considered, out there. And you're getting all the way to August. You're not just getting to July. So you're getting a little bit of action. Historically, that's kind of the worst time of the year, or second worst time of the year to buy a vertical like that. But again, we are in, none of these markets are normal anymore. So the past is not always prologue these days. SPY is SPY hot, 4.41 million. Again, that's kind of about what we'd expect right now. The ADV right around 8.5 million. So SPY hanging out a little bit juicy there as well. The S, 1.85 million. That's almost exactly where we'd expect it to be, right around 1.75 million this time of the show. So everything kind of hanging out right where we expect it, maybe slightly warmer. The ADV, about 3.7 million in the S. Small caps, 885. Again, slightly more than we might expect this time of show normally. The ADV right around 1.25 million. And the Qs, same deal, 2.5 million. We usually expect around 2.25 million. The ADV, 3.64 million out there in the Qs. So for the most part, we're seeing things about where we expect them, or slightly more active out there. Now, what's the case in the single name land? Is it just a kind of dumpster fire? We had 180,000 contracts to break into the top 10. Is it ripping your face off 450 out there? No, it's neither one of those, but it's closer to the latter than the former, I'm pleased to say. Cost you $340 to break into the top 10 today. That gets you to Amazon. So $340, middle of July, that's fairly respectable, I would say, all things considered out there. Again, the Amazonians kicking us off today, listeners. 222 and a third right now, off about 1/4 point out there today. So not a banger underlying day for the Amazonians, but good for 340 on the tape. Let's just do a quick check. And Uncle Mike, how are we doing? How are we feeling out there?
Still, we're about a point away still. So no updates yet.
All right. I'm just doing my check-ins. Never let it be said I stepped all over the Kool-Aid man. All right, here we go. Out to number 9, listeners. Number 9, our old pal Robin. It still looks weird to me when I look at the hood ticker and it's $97. I mean, this to me is the name. I've said it before. It wasn't that long ago I was getting run over selling 10 puts in this name. Now we're at $97. Just what a wild time this has been, listeners. 97 and a third, up nearly $3 today, or 3%. This name has kind of rallied and fallen off some wild rumors, and then fact, and then rumors again over the last month and change. And then last week, of course, with all that token business that kind of got a lot of people hot and bothered. So it's been some wild stuff out here in Robinhood. Nonetheless, though, they're $100. It wasn't that long ago we were talking about selling the 40 puts out here. In fact, it was back in April. They got down to $34 and change. Well, I know a lot of our pro members did sell 40 puts out there. I think we were talking about it, might have been on oddities as well. So this one's been on a wild run of late, including that talk. It was just rumors about a month ago they were going to add it to the S&P, and then bam, was off to the races from there. Even though, again, it was just one annual analyst speculating. That was all it took. Just been a wild run here for Robinhood, and they're still at the upper end of it. So number 9, Hood, 374 out there. What do you think of this wild run in Hood? Have you been trading it, listeners? It's been a good run out here for them of late. Number 8, going out to PCG, a.k.a. PG&E. Always fun when they have different acronyms in their ticker versus their name. Good for 380 on the tape. You know them, listeners. This is the old, California Power Company. They got tied up with the liability for the fires. Then that kind of went away. Looks like there's some lawsuits over a class action thing for solar now. So just beset by litigation out here is PG&E. Unched right now, $13.50. Good for 380,000 contracts. They don't break into our top 10 very often. So I'm guessing this is some of this corporate action stuff out here. Let's see, 138,000 of the SEP 18 calls. That's your big boy today, followed by 116,000 of the SEP 17s and 114,000 of the SEP 16s. And it's definitely opening on the, so we could be rolling. No, they're opening on the 16s as well. So yeah, wild size, symmetrical paper, but not a fly, or it's It's like a wild three-way here. 16, 17, 18. Going up for nearly 400,000 contracts. My goodness. That's a spicy day. That's pretty much all she wrote in PG, and the rest of the paper is not much at all. So, wow. Yeah. Hot day out here in PCG for number 8. Number 7, we're going to the monster. Is it monstrous right now, listeners? It's 419,000 contracts. That's pretty respectable. And also, 417 is the stock price. So, pretty close. Up $1.70 today, or nearly 0.5%. Good for number 7 on our list. Number 6, it's Palantir. 141.86, off $1.25 today, or 491. If you've been tracking it as part of our Palantir versus Nvidia, you know, Nvidia's winning that little battle right now. And no, who else is winning right now is SoFi. They continue. Every time we talk about them on the show, they're higher. SoFi, 498 right now. Coming in at number 5, $20.93, up another 70 cents or 3.5%. They're having a good little run. Just over the last 5 sessions, they're up 15%, nearly 3 handles. So good little run here for SoFi. Over the last month, they're up $6.50 or 45%. They hit their 52-week high today, $21.32. Another analyst upgrade out here, I guess. Wow. My goodness. Juicy run here for SoFi. Number 5, are you slinging any SoFi? Maybe Hood's too rich for your blood. Maybe you prefer SoFi. Either way, SoFi, number 5, 498. Number 4, the fruit company, also having a little bit of a renaissance here, managing to rally away from the par strike that seemed like they were locked at forever. Apple, number 4, 677 today, 212.60, up about $1.50 or about 0.75% out there. Just a day that ends in Y. Maybe people hoping Apple can go chase Nvidia on the market cap front. Either way, Apple, 212, so managing to continue to rally away from the par strike. Number 3, keeping in the A-Tech names, AMD, 144.10, up nearly $6 today, 570, 4.1%. My goodness. They have another upgrade? Yeah, another upgrade. And yet one more analyst who hasn't upgraded AMD yet. There we go. 780 on the tape for number 3, AMD listeners, 144.10. Number 2, what is it today? Is it Tesla or Nvidia? Drum roll, please. Yes, Tesla. 302 and a third, getting back, I should say, $6.50, a little over 2%. So apparently all the hand wringing over Musk abandoning the company, folks are apparently okay with it now. It's sold off to looks like about 291 on Monday, and they're back up to about 302 right now. So again, a day that ends in Y. Tesla's up, Tesla's down. Today it happens to be up 1.57 million for the number 2 spot. That means number 1, the big dog, Nvidia, 1.71 million against another one we were talking about, par puts. Not that long ago, listeners, it broke through it. Obviously, it got down to $94 in April. Man, quite the run from the April lows. My goodness, that was of course following on the heels of all the DeepSeek madness and everything. So if you picked up some Nvidia at $94, I tip my cap to you. 1.71 million right now, listeners. That is what the volume is right now, and the stock 163.5, up about 60 cents today. So quite the run here for good old Nvidia. Before I go out into the season, let's just check again with Uncle Mike. Uncle Mike, how we doing?
Never before.
Aha!
In the history of the entire stock market, has there ever been a better time to sell than right now, live on the option block? We are at new all-time highs, folks. Doesn't mean you should sell by any means, but we're at new all-time highs, and mathematically, there's never been a better time to sell. Excitement abounds us. Oh, yeah.
We need a theme song for you for that now. It's happened so many times. It become a recurring segment here on the show. The Uncle Mike Never Before, which means, listeners, of course, you should immediately hit the bid on everything that you own because it's never been a better time. So, by all means, get the F out of Dodge is what Uncle Mike is saying between the lines. As we look really quickly here, listeners, not much on the earnings docket, but you know what? We're getting close again. The 15th, listeners, is when we start to see the financials pop off again, like JP Morgan and Citi and Bank of America. And when that happens, you know what that means. It means we're back in it. It means earnings season is back. Helen of Troy is pretty much the end of the season. When you see Helen of Troy, you know it's over. And then when you see the financials, you know it started up again. So you get a little brief respite, about a week or so, where you can kind of wash your hands of it. And then we're right back in it. So let's look really quickly here. We got the numbers for you from our friends over there at ORATS. You can check it all out for yourselves, freshly updated. We've been waiting for a new report, but there's been nothing to talk about. Let's go out to the financials. Let's go out to Citi. All these popping off on the 15th, listeners. Citi, 85.79 when we ran this report. They were pricing in 330. In the past, they've moved 311, so looking slightly spicy, but nothing crazy. And then Morgan, also the 15th. They were at 283.16 when we ran these numbers. They were pricing in 950. In the past, they've moved 890, listeners. So a little bit juicy out there on Morgan. Bank of America on the 16th. They were trading 46.84. They were pricing in $1.76. In the past, they've moved to $1.20. So that's a fair amount extra juice for Bank of America. Let's go to Wells Fargo as well. Back to the 15th. 81.79 is where they were trading. They're pricing in 337. In the past, they moved 275. So seems like the directive, the memo is in on the financials to price in a little bit more juice, listeners. PNC 16th before the bell. 196.14 is where they were trading. They're pricing in, get this, $6.16. In the past, they've moved a little less than $4.25. So they're pricing in a heck of a lot of extra juice. Almost $2 worth of extra juice. Wow. That's a lot of juice for PNC, listeners. Wow. That's just the start. Just the start of the fun, listeners. So many more to come after that. United Airlines on the 16th. GE on the 17th. Uncle Mike's favorite, Netflix on the 17th as well. And then we're pretty much off to the races. If you're wondering, our long-term average hanging out right now at a pretty freaking frothy 119%. Is that possibly sustainable? I guess we'll find out, listeners. Meanwhile, let's find out what the heck the Flowmaster has up his sleeve this week. It is time for the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for the Odd Block.
Everybody, let's get weird. Let's get wild. Let's see what the heck the Flowmaster has up his sleeve for us today. Let's find out together, listen. Let's go back to Unity. We've been talking about Unity quite a bit of late out there, listeners. They are kind of the video game engine that a lot of video game companies use these days. Also kind of got popular with the meme kids out there as well. So all sorts of fun. Unity, ticker symbol U. 29.66, up about a third of a buck today, or a little over 1%. On the year, it's pretty much doubled, almost exactly. It's up 14.30, up about 93% on the year. So a good run for them. They last topped out close to 30, right around 29 bucks back in, right around Valentine's Day. Then they fell off a cliff down to, it's like 16.75. So they got cut almost in half back on April 8th. Since then, it's been a nice run. They hit back up close to this level again back in early June, 26.25. Then they fell again back to about 23 bucks back in late June. And since then, they've been rallying, including a nice pop from July 2nd. They were at 24 bucks and then popping hard up to 29 bucks out here. So I'll have to look to see if this just more meme squeeze action. Is something else going on out here? Looks like a pretty spicy run over the last week. They're up 21.5% in the last 5 sessions. So yeah, they're moving pretty hard. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna go out on a limb, Mr. Flowmaster. I haven't looked at your flow, and say you're gonna look at some calls in Unity. Am I possibly correct, sir?
Well, you're definitely correct. We're going to look at some calls, but it's kind of an interesting story. So we talked about this stock in May when we saw. Remember, we saw I think 4 10,000 lot call buyers on Cboe. They were identified as customer. They were actually executing them all or none, which was pretty interesting because in a way that's telling you they didn't want to get small fills. They only wanted the big block prints. And we talked about how this was associated with Roaring Kitty through the posting of a picture of or a song called Unity or something like that, back in January. But that stock, it kind of waffled. At the time they bought about 80,000 of they built a position up at least to about 80,000 of the Jan 30 calls. That's when the stock was around $25. Stock kind of got up to 27-ish, and then it kind of faded out. But as you mentioned, it's back up. It's actually towards 30 today, 29.69. And the calls that I saw print were some big 30 strike calls that expire tomorrow, actually. The 31 calls that expire tomorrow, and the 31 halves, I believe. But when I dig into it, actually, I can kind of see that they might actually be a seller, which makes me feel like maybe the buyer of those Januaries is actually kind of trying to monetize a little bit of that position. They're keeping it on. And one thing that I'm excited about from the data standpoint is the 13F filings, which are required by asset managers to disclose option positions. The deadline was the end of June. And so in another 4 weeks, we actually should be able to see what account, okay, so assuming it's a hedge fund or something, who was actually the long side of those 80,000 calls. So I think that'll be really interesting. That doesn't mean, they may be out of them by the time that information comes out. But, this one, I actually did get long a little bit of stock, and I've held on to most of it. So I'm up money on this. Just because it kind of feels like somebody really wants it to be seen. And if, maybe somebody's kind of playing the whole finfluencer game, or maybe they just got lucky, as the markets continue to trudge higher. But this is definitely one worth watching. The call volume this week has been really strong. Today it's only 26,000 calls compared to average daily volume of 50,000. So today's actually light. But over the last few days, we've seen some big trades, particularly in these July 30 calls, which, maybe they're going to kind of get away with, the perfect scenario, if it is somebody trying to sell it against their January position, is for the stock to get right towards 30 and stay below it into the close tomorrow.
I like it. Interesting saga. By the way, while you were talking, looks like Jefferies upgraded it last week. That's the only thing I could find that accounts for this massive rally over the course of the past week, outside of more buyers than sellers, Mr. Flowmaster. So yeah, interesting. We'll keep an eye on this one, listeners. Again, that's why it pays to dig into the flow a little bit. Sometimes the flow is not always as it seems. So Unity back on our radar. Have you been trading Unity, listeners? If you can keep an eye on this explosive move out here, hit us up, let us know. As we go out to another one, I do believe this is a newcomer. This is Redwire Corp, ticker symbol RDW. This is an American aerospace manufacturer. They were created in June of 2020 by a private equity firm and went public in January of 2021. So it has everything about a meme written all over it. What's better than going public in January of 2021? Maybe the wildest time in history to go public, outside of maybe October of 87 or maybe, let's say, late 2008, along those time frames. But yeah, just absolutely wild stuff. Ticker symbol RDW, $15.50, off about a quarter. We all know how some of these similar, let's say, aerospace-related names like ASTS and others have just gone completely haywire over the course of the past year. Let's go check in on our pal Redwire, see how it's been doing. And let's see, over the past year, yeah, this chart looks like one of those names as well. A year ago, it was 710, listeners. So it's more than doubled, up about 118%, almost 8.5 handles since then. So a good net run, but it's done a lot of living since then. It shot up the first time, like a lot of stocks did. It hit a real apex literally on Valentine's Day. That was its top. And then it just kind of hit 26 3/4. So that was its big ASTS Spacemobile moment, I feel. And then it just fell out of bed. It fell all the way down to $7.50 in mid-April. And then it rallied it again, got up to this time in June, hit $20 on June 11th. So it more than doubled again. And then it kind of fell out of bed again, back to where we are right now, $15.50. So net on the year, it's still been a great year, more than doubling. But it's exceeded that several times since then and then fell out of bed hard. So this one, Mr. Flowmaster, definitely seems like it's had one of the trajectories of the asts and a few others that hit stratospheric new heights and then fell back to earth just as aggressively, sir. What did you spot out here in our new favorite, RDW?
Yeah, I wonder if this is one that came to the market through a SPAC, because we saw tons of those during COVID.
Yeah, and they all worked out so well, didn't they?
Yeah, well, a few of them did. So this one is kind of interesting. I've never seen this ticker in my life, but I was struck by a couple pieces of order flow today, and kind of in a historical sense, it definitely picks up a few weeks ago. The trade that I saw today, the bigger trade, as you said, the stock's 1547. Somebody bought about almost 3,000 of the Augie 17 calls. They paid $1.15 for those, and that's when the stock was 1540. So not too different from where we are. And that's an opening trade, and actually printed on the Cboe, so I can see that it was a customer initiator and market makers on the other side. But the other trade in there is a put seller, so it's kind of the double whammy. Somebody seems to have sold about 3,000 of the July 13 puts for a nickel, so those expire a week from tomorrow. Now those could be closing. It's a little bit hard to tell, but it does seem to be kind of leaning to the bullish direction. And if it's a space-related stock, and it can kind of come up with a compelling story, it does kind of seem like somebody's looking for it to possibly launch itself a little bit higher. Interesting one. I don't think I would touch this one myself, just because I've never heard of it, and I don't know. There's some headlines about them announcing some deals, and then, of course, the headlines have AI in the text. So maybe they got something going on, but it's an interesting one. Probably something to put on the radar, just in case it catches the attention of kind of that meme crowd. I don't think it's a hard to borrow. It's a cost 8% to borrow, so it does kind of have that short squeeze potential to it as well.
I fail to see, sir, why you would have pause to trade a company that was formed by private equity and then went public as a SPAC in 2020. What possible hesitation could you have for trading such a name, sir? I don't understand. Have you been trading our new hot favorite here, Redwire? Listeners, it's had a lot of fits and starts over the last year. If you were in it and you were deft, you could have done all right. Also could have gotten run over, obviously. But that is kind of the way with all these, asts and all these other ones out here as well. These are wild names out here, listeners. Speaking of wild, I don't know. Are chemicals as wild as aerospace? I guess we'll find out. Are you super psyched about chlorine and sodium hydroxide? Well, only one way to find out, listeners. We're going out to Olin Corp, ticker symbol OLN. You know them, you love them. They make all kinds of various chemical products. $22.92 today, up 75 cents or nearly 3.5%. So a hot day for chemicals, apparently. Even though it's been a complete dumpster fire of a year on the chemical front, my goodness, they're off exactly 50%, $23.5 right now. My goodness, almost 51%. Wow. Just an absolute dumpster fire. And it's been pretty much all straight down. They haven't really had much. I guess if you want a bright spot, they bottomed out at $17.66 on April 8th. So they're about $5 above that complete nadir. But that's really, really clutching at straws here, listeners. There's not much else to look at here that's doing pretty well out here. Looks like they also make gunpowder, so that's a big thing for them as well. Either way, man, this stock, complete dumpster fire. Let's see what our Eye of Sauron spotted, listeners. Maybe there's a ray of sunshine out here that somebody is spotting, and they're hoping for at least. What did we find out here today? Yeah, looks like somebody came in this morning, listeners, and said AUG 22 halves, which are pretty much at the time and pretty much now are about at the money, slightly in the money calls. They said, how are they? They got $1.65 at $1.85. So, a decent market, all things considered, for OLN. And they ended up trading them for $1.80, 5,000 times. Worth noting, it looks like it could be earnings related. There are earnings on July 28th. So they get earnings and then they get nearly a month afterwards of duration. So it's an interesting one. A bit meaty as well. Obviously, nearly $2 off the top. It's kind of an intriguing one, Mr. Flowmaster, just because this is a name that really has struggled to catch any sort of bid for the entirety of the year. I'm just looking to see if any other paper went up. Looks like another about 1,100 of these calls have traded today, and that's really about it. The next largest trade is 200 of the AUG 25. So this is a huge print for this name. 6,100 of the 22 half calls. I don't know, Mr. Flowmaster. I mean, it is technically in the money, so I guess it could be someone doing a little stock sub. It'd be a weird time to do it at near the nadir of the name, but we've seen weirder things. Mr. Flowmaster, what are your thoughts? AUG 22 halves for $1.80 for some comparable size here in Olin, sir.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. And, at the beginning of the show, I was kind of saying how some of the PE ratios we're looking at seem to be very, very high. I mean, I guess this stock looks like it's got a PE around 30. So maybe 40 against forward earnings. It is a gunpowder and kind of ammunition company. So maybe they have some political issues there, but yeah, this is an interesting trade. I mean, the 5,000 on ARCA for $1.80, and then it looks like somebody paid up to like almost $2 for the other 1,000. So possibly somebody kind of picking their bottom, or trying to catch a falling chemical laden knife. I'm not too sure on this one. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it's got exposure to commodities, we've a lot of headlines about how copper and some of these other things are really kind of shooting to the moon in terms of cost, and that's a problem for makers that need that as an input. So it could be something related to that, but it definitely it does look pretty simple, like somebody likes it at this level. They do seem to be profitable. So I'm not too sure on this one.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting one here, listeners. Maybe somebody doing a little bit of the old scoop at what they feel is the lower end. It's obviously cheaper than buying the stock. You're getting a little bit of duration. You go out to August. I mean, maybe like a little more for that outlay, but you get what you get out here, listeners. Olin, you like these? Hit us up. Let us know as we keep on rolling. Let's go into a little bit of the old mail call.
It's time to take your seat on the All-Star panel as we read your emails, tweets, Facebook messages, website comments, and much more. It's time for the Mail Block.
All right, and of course, it's the mail block. Mail call would be yesterday on Options Bootcamp. So many shows, listeners. They just flow into each other. But let's get into it. Uncle Mike, our chat is demanding that if you're going to announce new all-time highs for the equities, that you got to be fair and consistent. You got to do it for Bitcoin as well. What do you say, sir?
Why? What's Bitcoin? Is that a thing now, or?
There are others who are being more charitable to you, saying you can also do it for silver, but you got to do it across the board. So that's what they're saying.
Yeah, no, there's the S&P 500 and there's everything else.
Okay, I'm just letting you know. I'm letting you know what the people are saying. I'm keeping you the man of the people you claim to be.
I am a man of the people, and the S&P 500 represents 80% of all U.S. business and commerce, and it's the S&P. What else is there?
It is the Volks Index, the People's Index. All right.
That's right.
Let's see what the people have up their sleeve for us this week. Speaking of the people, we asked you guys at the start of the show, or actually more closer to the middle of the show, remember that VIX vertical, listeners? It was the AUG 2535 vertical going up for 52 cents. We said, hey, are you down for that? Are you a buyer or a seller? Pretty straightforward this time. And 69.2% of you right now say you want to buy that bad boy. I get it. I don't hate that either. Certainly like it better than selling it. What are you selling it for 52 cents for? I mean, historically, you probably do want to sell it, but still. 52 cents, you get a month and a half or so, month and change. Not a bad do out there at the end of the day, even though 25 is looking pretty far down the road at this point. That's going to be live the rest of the day. So I said nearly 70% of you going that you want to buy that bad boy right now. I got questions, two important questions for both of you that you need to weigh in on. Uncle Mike, we'll start with you. Our actual question of the week right now is, which asset class has the most upside as we head into the second half of 2025? We kept it pretty broad. We went equities, gold/metals, fixed income or other. We've already had write-ins for small caps and crude and a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh, crypto. A lot of people writing in crypto, Bitcoin in particular. I got you. Our resident humorist wrote in for private equity, Mr. Griffin. They know how to strip it, flip it, and leave it with the cash. He's always good for a pun or two and a witty retort there. So there we go. Private equity, that's his write-in out there. Uncle Mike, which asset class are you picking? Or maybe you have your own write-in. And which way is our audience going? And then B, the hot issue that is dividing our audience, dividing our chat. They're still debating it a day later as we speak. This was started up by your nemesis, Mr. Passarelli. So blame him yesterday on the show. He brought this up again. He said, quite simply, is it okay to put ketchup on a hot dog? Yes, it's delicious, or no, it's a sin. This is all tied into the Pope being from his neck of the woods, and he said it's time for the Pope, the new Pope, to officially make it a sin to put ketchup on a hot dog, which immediately divided our audience. So, Mr. Uncle Mike, weigh in on these two hot issues of the day. Which way are you going? Which way is our audience going?
Well, I mean, I'm going to upset a lot of my Chicago brethren with this, but I really don't eat hot dogs that much. If I'm gonna poison myself with something like that, I'm gonna go with an Italian beef or a burger or a brat. My gosh, so that's kind of my thought on it. So I don't think it's a sin to put a ketchup on a hot dog, so it really doesn't bother me along those lines. But if I'm gonna eat some food like that, I guess I'm more of a high-end snob when it comes to fast food and that type of thing. I want me an Italian beef, by gosh. In terms of an asset class, if you'll accept my write-in of Shiba Inu, I'll go with that.
I knew it.
But if you won't accept my write-in of Shiba Inu, then I mean I got to go with the S&P 500. We're at all-time highs right now, and I have a feeling I might be saying my trademark statement at least one more time this year.
Oh, probably maybe one more time in the next week or two. We'll see. It's a regular occurrence on the show now. We need to make a drop for it. Mr. Flowmaster, as our resident East Coaster, you have less of a dog in the ketchup fight, but feel free to weigh in. And then also, which asset class is catching your eye for the second half of the year? Which way is our audience going in both?
Well, I love a good Chicago hot dog, and I think that ketchup is thin on a hot dog, but I also am not a big fan of that super green weird relish that they put on it in Chicago. So, but no ketchup. It's tough, but I think U.S. equities, as Mike said, the S&P's had a heck of a run, and there's a big saying, "Don't fight the Fed," right? We think we've all heard that. The way things are kind of flowing right now, I think you don't want to fight Washington. And, I really think that they're going to push things around, and got to stay out of the way. And, at least kind of, ever since April, it really seems like the focus is on the upside, whether or not it makes perfect sense in your mind. I think you can't afford not to have exposure to upside in S&P 500, maybe spread it around a little bit of international or maybe smaller cap Russell. But I would continue being long. As I told the guy that came in my office, I said, I don't really know why it keeps going up, but it does. And, over the long term, it will continue to. Everybody's pretty confident about that. And this year doesn't seem any different, even though it feels like it should be different.
All right, let's see which way our audience is going here. Right now, they are going stocks as well, 46.8% choosing equities, 29.8% going the gold or metals route, so very much Uncle Mike's camp. 14.9% for fixed income, 8.5% for other. I told you a bunch of the write-ins. If you have others, feel free to share them. We always love your others out there. And our audience, good to see you can shake off the dogma that's been infected on you around the Chi-Town area. Is ketchup on a hot dog delicious? Yes, it's delicious. 63.3% of you going that way. 36.7% saying no, it's a sin. You've been infected by the Passarelli dogma. Remember, not all cased meats are the same. Just something to keep in mind out here, listeners, as we go really quick around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
All right, everybody, welcome to Around the Block. We'll do a combo of Around the Block as well as what the heck you got cooking. Let's start with Uncle Mike, because a little birdie telling me I might be talking to him again in a little bit. He might be doing his trademark thing again in a few minutes. Mr. Uncle Mike, sir, first off, what are you keeping an eye on until the Monday show? And then B, if folks want more Uncle Mike goodness, where should they go? What should they do?
Well, I think you got to keep an eye on the markets when they just make new all-time highs like they did. Definitely watching that. Continuing to monitor bonds and their lack of movement. I'd like to see bonds do something one way or another to give us a little bit more indication, but continuing to watch that, continuing to watch the fast-flying tech stocks, and then also continuing to watch if a certain someone, our leader, commander-in-chief, says something to the media that could move the market. And in terms of if you are looking for a financial advisor who is not afraid of the option product, go to stcharleswealth.com, sign up for a phone call with me. Would love to have a conversation with any of our audience members.
There you go. stcharleswealth.com is the place to go. And if you need more Uncle Mike in your life, just stay tuned. He'll be back with me in about half an hour to talk all things futures options on Twifo. So Uncle Mike, go rest up your voice. And Mr. Flowmaster, same question for you, sir. First off, what are you keeping an eye on till your next appearance next Thursday? And then B, if folks want more Flowmaster goodness in their lives, where should they go? What should they do?
So I will also be kind of keeping an eye on macro themes. I mean, as I said at the very beginning, we're at all-time highs. Volatility is relatively near the low end of the range, and those are a couple of things you got to keep in mind. And we could, all it would take would be a couple of tweets or some other unforeseen craziness to get things really moving again. What I'm working on actually is a liquidity analysis of the SPX 0-day, but also a larger scale, really just quote quality and market size of markets that we're seeing out there in shorter dated and longer dated options, and updating my state of the industry presentation for mid-year. I listened to some of the mid-year factoids that you had last week. They were pretty great. And I'm going to give you the link to let anybody sign up for my state of the industry, and we can include that with that image I gave you.
There we go. We'll keep an eye on. Yeah, we're full of factoids here. Spoiler alert, the Rock Lobster not managing to hold on to the number one spot for options search terms for first half at least. He has the second half of the year to go. Maybe he can make it up. A Maine falling from the list entirely this year. A complete failure on his part. I'll need to give him a hard time for. In the meantime, listeners, make sure you're checking out all of Henry's goodies over there. The best place to find his stuff, as well as everything else they got cooking over there at Cboe. Cboe.com/RMA is the place to go to begin your journey to the dark side. Trust me, it's a fun journey. You're going to get lost down some rabbit holes. You're going to search for some unusual activity. You're going to stumble across some 13Fs. You're going to find some flex baked in there as well. You're going to say, what the heck is this? And then you're going to go down that rabbit hole. And next thing you know, 3 days have gone by and you haven't slept or showered. But it's a good time. Cboe.com/RMA, the place to go to begin that journey. If you want to keep your journey going with us, if you're hanging out in the live, just hang out. I'll be back with the aforementioned Uncle Mike in a few minutes to hold court on, I'm guessing it's probably going to be S&P and silver and the 10-year note. And we'll see what else we can squeeze onto the show there, listeners. But those are kind of his babies. And then we'll be back again tomorrow, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, Dr. Vix and other special guests in hand to talk all things vol. And then one final time for the week, exclusively for you pro cats hanging out in the secret club, theoptionsinsider.com/pro for another wild options oddity. Should be a banger out there, listener. Stay tuned for that. If you want to join the fun, Maybe you want to win a pro trading crate like Eric Nelson did this week. TheOptionsInsider.com/pro, the only place to go. And then we'll see you back here on Monday, another episode of The Option Block. Stay safe out there, everybody.
The Option Block is brought to you by Cboe. Cboe's suite of S&P 500 index options, SPX and mini S&P 500 XSP options, allows traders to speculate on the direction of the market, generate income, and hedge for downside protection of their portfolio of stocks. No matter what kind of trader you are, there's plenty of useful information to take the guesswork out of creating your portfolio strategy and to help you make more educated moves in the market. Visit www.cboe.com/SPX today to learn more. The views expressed herein are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of Cboe Global Markets Incorporated or any of its subsidiaries, collectively Cboe. The information provided is for general education and information purposes only. There are important risks associated with transacting in any of the Cboe products or any of the digital assets discussed here. Before engaging in any transactions in those products or digital assets, it is important for market participants to carefully review the disclosures and disclaimers contained at www.cboe.com/US_disclaimers. These products and digital assets are complex and are suitable only for sophisticated market participants. These products involve the risk of loss, which can be substantial and, depending on the type of product, can exceed the amount of money deposited in establishing the position. Market participants should put at risk only funds they can afford to lose without affecting their lifestyle. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.